left. You put that on the left side.
This is insane.
Quality, quantity, and variety.
ROCKFLUX.
Let's get this show on the road.
Good morning.
Just sit right back and you'll hear a tale.
And away we go. You got it, baby. Here we are another morning. I shouldn't be happy, you know? I mean, I kind of freaked out on my cat this morning. It just kept coming at me and at me and at me, waking me up. That last half hour or hour of sleep, you know how like you might sleep for 6 hours, 6.5 hours. So you know you need another hour, hour and a half, right? And then if you get that, if you fall back to sleep, when you wake up, it's one of those, I feel so good. And you just lay there and you go, I had a good night's sleep. It's a great, beautiful day. You know, greet the day with a smile and feeling good and all that kind of stuff. Well, I made it to the 6.5 hour mark, and then the cat just started like just relentlessly just bothering me and like walking over my gallbladder into my face and the whole thing. So I grabbed him, gave him a hug. You like that? You like that? Is this what you want? You want here? You want to do that? He's purring, you know, but then he get this. It's a little bit too much for him. So, you know, I just gave him a taste of his own medicine, you know. In other words, how would you like to be like, you know, right in somebody's face? You like that? And he like, I don't know. He didn't really scratch me or anything. And then I picked him up and petted him, and he was purring, and I fed him some wet food and all that stuff. But I mean, I don't know. It's like drives you crazy, and I feel bad about it, you know. I didn't hit him. I didn't hurt him. I didn't do anything wrong. But I mean, I did something. I mean, I guess I should have just, I don't know. And so I'm cranky now. You know, and then you get up and then you come downstairs. I eat some, you know, the breakfast made by this, it might have said on the box, the Soggy Bottom Boys, like that movie. And so I had some soggy cereal. Cat goes upstairs, doesn't finish his wet food. I don't think he's taking a crap in 2 days. I don't know. I think he might be sick. I don't know what to do. I'm broke. I can't even take him to a vet if I wanted to. But he seems to be semi-normal other than the fact that he does this morning thing, and it drives me up a wall. So I'm dealing with that, and, you know, that causes this, whatever this is, some kind of thing that actually causes gallstones or gives you gallbladder problems. So I turn on the computer, and it opens up to YouTube, because basically this is all I do, right? God, no. And today's going to be rain, telephone rain. So apparently this morning, well, actually right now, 4 a.m., it's 3:14, it's pie time, Eastern time here in the Mid-Atlantic States on the 7th of March. Calendar year 2022, it's 57 degrees outside. And so there's basically a chance of rain now through, you know, the end of time. Later on today, there's supposed to be heavy winds and thunderstorms. Yesterday afternoon, it was windy. I looked out my bedroom window out towards the backyard, and I saw pieces of roof shingles, which may well mean during this crazy storm today that could reach 45 mile an hour, which are basically low tropical storm winds. I know I lived on the Gulf Coast of Florida through a tropical storm. So who knows what else is going to blow off and what else is going to happen. So I turn on the internet to start this thing, to get my thing together. And I'm on my email first, and of the usual 60 emails. Today there was there was, again, it was the same deal. 60 emails, 59 were just nonsense, totally ridiculous, toxic stuff, nonsense, crazy stuff to just make you more like out of sync and just mess with you. And then one from a friend of mine saying, "What's your PayPal?" And it's like, man, didn't you get the memo from the other person already? Okay. And besides, I'm not going to give that kind of stuff over the internet. So, anybody wants to donate to the show, buy a shirt, buy a book, buy a power backup, and save your ass, man. Do you understand that it is over? Okay, that's number one. Then number two, then I go to the YouTube channel because I have to go to YouTube in order to hit go live, right? And then fill in all the stupid information, such as the title of the show is just when you thought things couldn't get any worse. And I put the first chat in. Question is, how many people are already stark raving mad and how many others' heads are ready to pop? That's others, plural apostrophe, plural possessive. They teach that stuff in school. Right? That's like people that like put apostrophe S after something that's just plural. Right? We'll be open both Saturdays, but it'd be apostrophe S or something. I haven't talked about this in a while, but yeah, you do know that, what was it, the education department or some government bureaucracy, I forget what one it was, released something couple of years ago that basically said the majority of people in the U.S. were functionally illiterate, and that included like people who graduated schools. Right, the majority were functionally illiterate, even those who went to functionally illiterate and they went to school. Coal trucks are coming up early, man. I thought I heard one at midnight when I got up, which was like when when I first got woke up. Which is really strange because we're in because of this weird weather, the storm weather, we're getting this like 50s for a couple of days, and then it's going to get back down into the 40s and 30s and all that, and freezing and the snow on the weekend and stuff. But there's a couple of days here because we're getting this, like, I guess it's some southerly thing. I didn't bother to go get the NOAA map. But I mean, whatever's causing these thunderstorms and rains, it's usually one of those things. It's usually a clash, a cold front hits, hits some warm weather, moist thing from the Gulf or south somehow, and the two converge, and it's like thunderstorms. And they're saying between 1/2 and 3/4 of an inch of rain with 45-mile-an-hour winds. And I'm the guy with the leaky roof, right? Toxic. Other than that, I felt pretty good, in general. I mean, not good. I feel bad. My head's a mess now. And I guess my body's creating that thing. There's that chemical. It's really bad for you when you're under stress. And I think that's starting to cause some pain in the right side of my gallbladder and shit. Whatever it's called. Has an S in it. I don't know. It's not good for you. I had it written down. So I have to get happy. I'm sorry, Kat. He's hiding upstairs in a room where I sprayed Lysol every morning, and he's breathing that in. I don't know. So what? He's killing himself, but I mean, what am I supposed to do? It's like, what did I do so wrong, from a standpoint, whether it's, religious or karma or whatever. It's like, come on, man. Yeah, I was no different than any other young guy, self-centered, trying to get laid, Maybe my first couple business ventures, I was a little bit, looking to make a buck and stuff and whatever. But I wised up at a fairly young age. You know, I've been living a life of goodness and kindness for 30 years. You know? I mean, before I ever heard of the law of one, I always was service to others before service to self. I can remember a friend of mine almost 30 years ago saying, "Why don't you do something for yourself? You're always doing all these other things. Why don't you just do something, just take time for yourself, do something for yourself?" So I don't know. I'm positive thinking or whatever, but man, it's toxic out there. So you read these emails and it's toxic, and the ones that aren't toxic, even in the headlines alone, are clickbait. Because if you actually watch it, because they're all walking on eggshells. Like, Russell Brand, he's got like over 5 million people following him now. He says some really interesting things. He's a good perspective, seems to be a genuine nice guy. But I don't think he understands, like I talked about yesterday, the socioeconomic geopolitics part of the world. And, maybe it's just as well that he doesn't see it that way. And maybe this idealism by some people is fine. Maybe living in your own world is okay. Because the world, if you live in the real world, it's insanity. It's madness. It's just complete and utter madness. It's toxic. So you might as well live in a dream world and pretend, it's like a kid. Put your hands over your eyes and pretend, whatever, nobody can see you and you can't see them, and everything's fine as long as you just keep your eyes closed or your hands over your eyes. Right? Play hide and seek with the megalomaniacs, war-profiteers, politicians, cult of personality, the media making billions on people suffering in wars and here at home. I don't know. It's crazy. Who wants to tune in and hear somebody talk this way? Oh, no. I know. Nobody does, man. Nobody does. Nobody does.
This is insane.
This is a nightmare. Must be a nightmare.
Yeah, right. They say misery loves company, whatever that song. I can't even remember it. I used to be able to play it on the guitar. Toxic. The morning show. Yeah, this is toxic too. Because I don't know. What do I do? What do I do? How do I? Why? I have no way. Look at me. I'm crazy as the next guy. Mad as a hatter. I'm gone batty. I'm going batty, man. It's not even funny anymore. Game over. No, I don't want to be the mad prophet of the airwaves. I'm tired of that. There's enough shows of those you can watch. You want me to teach you how to garden? Tell you to go to Great Solar Stuff and get yourself some power backup so when the fit hits the shan, you'll be able to survive, live some sense of normalcy. But would it be normalcy if you had no internet? You see? I mean, a guy like me would be like, well, maybe it would be freedom not doing this nonsense anymore. I'd still be able to listen to my music and hang out in the sun. I don't know. It's a boring life. this whole liver thing, because liver, gallbladder's connected, I mean, I'd rather go back to just sitting at the bar that I built here. I built a bar in my house and just sitting there and drinking and smoking cigars until I died. And I don't mean like leaving Las Vegas. I mean reasonable and rationally, having a few beers, every couple of days or so, listening to some music and just like, looking at some things, paging through some magazines, just enjoying life, coming up with ideas, maybe talking to somebody. Living life, some kind of life. I mean, this is no life. And I guess the thing is, I guess why I'm the angry man is that I know there's a lot of people out there that they've got stuff in their life, but I guess I don't have anything in my life. And my cat, which could be something in my life, right? I love animals. I wouldn't have a cat if I didn't like the thing and love the thing, right? But now he's become like strange. And I've lost my patience with him now. I don't know what to do. Some friend of mine, I think, is all concerned. She was going to come down and bring some cat food down this morning before she goes to work for him. I don't know. I don't know what to do. And I got to dance around upstairs and deal with this leaky roof. See, if it wasn't like everything, if it was just one thing, it's like, I know I sound like some complaining person, but I mean, realistically, come on. I don't think I took the stuff down from yesterday. Do you have that above your bedroom? Bins that will fill up with water, and I have to have a pump and pump them into a bucket and then take the bucket and dump it out the window. Because if I don't, if in the ideal instance, this tar, I might have found this extra floor leak as opposed to the leak that's going to fill those things either way, regardless, as they say. But they have to be emptied. If it's a 3/4 of an inch rain day, I might have to empty those things, pump them out of water, those collection containers from the rain coming down from the leaky roof. And who knows if there's some new spots, if there's tiles that seem to be blown off the roof that are out, I saw in the backyard. A dozen or more times. I'll have to go up there and pump. I don't even have money. You know how expensive fucking batteries are today? So, you see what I mean? I'm not exaggerating. It's not like some crybaby. Oh, my iPhone broke, or oh, my whatever. It's like, I could live with that. Things don't bother me. I haven't bought a new stitch of clothes or a pair of shoes in the longest time or anything like that. I don't care about things like that. The handle. I told you the other day I was at the refrigerator and I hear smash and the light fixture above my sink falls, and it's made of glass, and there's glass all over my sink, my counter, my floor, and it came all the way into this room, and it took me like an hour or more to like try to get every shard up, and hopefully I did. Maybe I didn't. So yesterday, this is a funny one. So yesterday after the show, I have a porch because I feed the birds in the back. I do good things. I take care of animals and shit. And I've got plants in my porch that I'm growing, and I grow catnip for my cat, and he loves it. That's out there. Well, I go to the handle to open the door to get into my porch, and it's, it's like fused. It won't open. Because the previous owner, I guess to please his girlfriend, put these like heart-shaped door handles on that he made. Or the ones on there, he actually put 2 sets of door handles that were made out of some fancy salt and pepper shakers. I figured it out. And I don't know what kind of glue he had to put on there, but it was actually glued to the fixture where the old-fashioned doorknob was. And they seem to have worked for a long time till one of them fell off. But anyways, one of these makeshift things that I guess lasted for, I don't know, 20 years. So I can't get out of the back of the kitchen onto the porch to feed the birds, water the plants, blah, blah, blah. Because the thing's on. So I have to like somehow manage to pull that handle out, and force open the door. And then later on in the day, I had to put like those little wooden things people have on on dresser drawers, the little wooden pull handle things, not like the bar one, but it's just like a round little piece of wood. And I knew I had one in my garage, and my garage is a mess, man. It's like a damp, dusty, musty, 40 degrees refrigerator lot with who knows what living in it out there. At least it's attached from the house. Piled with junk sky high, boxes from getting stuff delivered, even though I flattened them out. Well, anyway, I found this thing and screwed that on the door, so at least I could open the door now. I had ordered a different type of glass, door handle, like that fits these older doors several years ago, which I put in the front here. And I know I didn't pay more than like $7.98 or $10 for it. And so I go on Amazon where I got the last one, and it's like $28. So with tax, it's going to be like $30 to put a door on, replace it. You see what I mean? It's not one. I mean, now that's something that if somebody was bitching about, you go, well, oh, poor, pitiful you had to fix your door handle. Yeah, I could deal with that. Someone, I guess, could look at the glass light thing and that disaster, and say, that wasn't that bad. Okay, well, that was bad, and if that happened to somebody else, I would really feel sorry for them. That was the same day my cameras didn't work, I think, when I turned on my computers, and I had to go through that song and dance to somehow figure out getting my cameras back on. And now I'm facing this storm, massive amount of rain. And I was listening to the NOAA weather radio, which I advise you get one too, because, you can't trust any forecast you hear anywhere else or see on your internet apps. They're all wrong. They're all wrong. Same day wrong. They change like by the hour, if you notice. Yesterday morning I was looking, and the rain actually did get was pushed back. But it said it was going to rain at a certain point. I even ended the show a little bit earlier. But it didn't end up raining until a little bit later on. How could they get that wrong? Weren't they looking at the radar, the clouds? You see what I mean? There's certain things that are, the law of physics. You know what I mean? These people, they must have gone... They went to they call themselves meteorologists, which means they probably have at least a bachelor's of arts degree or whatever it is, or bachelor of science, I guess in that case, in meteorology. I mean, come on. You can't look at the cloud, Doppler radar, or whatever the heck it is, or the satellite thing, and see that there's a cloud, and the cloud is, and the water vapor. NOAA provides all this stuff. Like there's something like when I used to do the weather, because I have them here. Here's an older one. All right, you see that? They provide something like you have access to well over a dozen different breakdowns. Infrared views, water vapor, all kinds of stuff, and and you can set them all in motion and stuff. So you're telling me that some meteorologist who's hooked up to Apple or Google, right? Or, whatever apps, weather Channel, that they can't, because I think it's the Weather Channel that comes through on the app on the Apple. So these so-called meteorologists, they can't look and see that a certain cloud is about to hit, Boulder, Colorado, or that there is no clouds and no water vapor near Boulder, Colorado, and that the chance of rain, snow, or whatever it is, because then they also have the temperature, maps, that they could say there's a very slight chance of snow, maybe 5 or 10%, or no chance, You see what I mean? So this functional illiteracy on top of everything else. But like I say, yeah, you don't have to live with an attic like this, and every time it rains, you have to, you go crazy. I do. You don't have a cat that wakes you up every frickin' night. I haven't had a good night's sleep. And then you don't have doctors telling you they want to take your gallbladder out and you'll have to eliminate, there's a 40% chance you'll have diarrhea for the rest of your life. I'm sorry to be so blunt. I'm just trying to put it down in perspective. And that's only the beginning. I'm flat broke. I don't get any money for this thing. I'm not monetized for these things. Somebody supposedly sent me a couple of Bitcoin or something like that, and I can't even access it. I don't even know how to access it now. It's like every time I try logging on to this certain thing, it keeps saying it's not my password. But it's like I've got it written down here, and it's it. I even tried changing the password and So I don't know. I got 0 viewers. And as the day goes, you might say, oh, it's 3 a.m. Who gave you? Yeah, well, that doesn't matter. 3 p.m, I get three viewers, and 2 of them are me. Maybe 3 of them are me. I do one when I share I have to open the video to share it, right? Because I put the link on a couple of social media sites to just give it some broad, exposure. Where I have had 1 or 2 people comment, and they actually liked it. So that's why I do that. That's all I do on social media is just plop a link. So that counts. I noticed that counts as a view. And then I watch these shows back because I'm bored silly, and there's nothing on YouTube but toxic people talking about the same damn thing. Everything now is war, 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 war. Right? And I'm not going to get into the same speech as yesterday. There's more people dying in the United States of America every week than will die or have died, in this Ukrainian thing. And, it's funny, people don't know America, because everybody's out there so cushy. And I'm glad you got somebody to fuck, and I'm glad you got a nice house in a cul-de-sac, and you got yourself an SUV, and you're all comfy, and and all that stuff. Good for you. I'm not jealous of you. But you have no fucking idea what this. I've been all over this country. We got bombed out fucking buildings. We have neighborhoods in this place that look worse than the worst war zones you've seen in Syria. You're going to say, what? You ever see what Brooklyn used to look like? See, some people are so young, they don't even know. There was a time that Brooklyn looked like Syria did after the bombing. Yeah, Brooklyn, New York. I don't know what they did now. Who knows? They might have Trump hotels up there now, for all I know. I haven't been up there in 30-some years. Yeah. Last time I was in New York, I saw the World Trade Towers were still up and stuff, So, yeah. There are neighborhoods in every city. I mean, there's places even in Baltimore that they're, like I said yesterday, they're no-go zones. And people sit around in their comfortable living rooms and these big sofas, their feet propped up, eating junk food. They don't have a problem with gallbladder. They're like hey, honey, bring home some ice cream or let's have a treat for dinner tonight. Right? They don't have to worry about eating it and then ending up in an emergency room and having their gallbladder taken out and then having diarrhea for the rest of their life. And then they say, "Hey, get the credit card. I want to send some money over to those poor people over in Ukraine." What about the poor people here? Why don't you send me some money to fix my frickin' roof? You know? See, people, somebody, the U.S. is like sending over $1 billion or something. Like, it's like, but like 2,000 people a week are being murdered in the United States and 40,000 other people are dying from like these unnecessarily, totally preventable diseases and stuff. You know, treatable, preventable, curable even in some cases. But because of, because of big ag and big pharma and big tech and the corporatocracy in general and the politicians who are pressured by them and the media that get commercials from the products that are advertised that are killing us, won't do a damn thing about it. 40,000 a week. I'm telling you, 40,000 people a week aren't going to die in Ukraine no matter what. They could have a limited nuclear war over there, because they have these new nukes now that just are like kind of like a little bit of nuke on the tip, right? Just a little bit. Just enough to give you a little bit of make you glow at night. Well, I already had prostate cancer because that's what those things do. If you survive it, you get cancer. Well, guess what? I already got it. Had it. Had that. Been there, done that. I'm telling you, they could have some limited nukes, back and forth over there. And they still won't reach the death toll in the United States in an average year. Couple million people dying unnecessarily. Millions. More than a couple. Yeah, more than a couple. Right? And you don't even know that's true. And you don't even believe me. That's the sad part about it. And so Russell Brand and Joe Rogan and Tim Pool and all these other freaking people, I already deleted. I should have kept my email open. I would have just given a laundry list of all these names of people. Right? I mean, here, let's take a little walk down like Rumble Lane. New window. First, let's look at YouTube, see what's going on. See if they have my show list. Yep. I'm listed here for myself. The Mars Mysteries. I was just watching this Gigi Young, and I talked her up for a while, but I don't know. The mechanization of mysticism. Here's a guy talking about bile reflux, right? I don't know what the fuck he's talking about. He's contradictory. Right? Nerve Gorilla, he was up a little while ago. He's off, but he's always worth a laugh. He's playing those shows by that guy, Phil Henry or something like that. Putin's makes Joe resign, whatever that's supposed to be. Here's one of my old videos I did 15 years ago. This is from the Amazon. Amazon fishermen using bow and arrow. See this? This is me. It's one of my old videos. I don't know why that pops up here every now and then. 6.3 thousand views over 15 years, which is hardly any compared to anything. Not monetized. Wasn't monetized, by the way. And look at this. COVID-19 news. I thought that was like, now they're talking about verified questions about fourth doses. Like, what's going on? Looks like Nerve Gorilla actually is still live. He's teaching neighborhood girls how to shave and wax their legs. Okay, so YouTube is just downright bonkers. Okay. Did you hear the one about Trump saying that they should put a Chinese flag on an airplane and bomb Russia or something ridiculous like that? I mean, things have gotten crazy. And then this guy here, watch this Sky News thing about him. All right? Because I mean that what's gone on there and is being hidden is unfrickin' believable. You know? Millennial Millie. She tries hard. She does long form videos too. That one's not that long. But anyway, let's take a look at Rumble. Let's get ready to rumble. Because here, suddenly it went to my thing. I'm on Rumble. I got 2 Rumbles. Okay. Now here's clickbait. Well, we're not going to watch it. Russell Brand. Is this the solution? But the point is, if you watch that video, there will be no solution to the thing. The solution was what I told you a couple shows ago. And then they make it look like these two, Biden isn't going to talk to Putin because the Biden family got millions of dollars from the guy in Ukraine. Ukraine prepares for possible Russian what? Russian advance to Kiev. And then look at this clown lineup. They're just like this Gorka guy is like the biggest dork in the world. I saw him he didn't know he was on mic and camera one time, and oh man, what an asshole in real life that guy is. And this guy, I don't even know who the fuck he is, this Hansen guy. His face is all over the frickin' place. And this Chen here, I like her, Lauren Chen. I mean, she's a hot babe, right? But, she's the master of, she's caught up in this whole crazy insanity crap. I don't know, video hosting, live. And it's still pay to play, I think. You were supposed to be able to go live. I don't even want to look at this anymore. Toxic. It's not nearly as bad as it was earlier. It's always like that too, You see something and you want to show somebody it, and then it's like, magically that stuff, half the stuff is like, disappears. So what are you supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? That's like the other day. I was wondering why I never got any comments, right? And every day I click on my thing, and I'll show you this because I'm not going to be giving away any secrets. See, this is how you edit your thing. You put your information, age restriction. You go, look at all the keywords I put in there, but they don't work. And down at the bottom, I have here, it says comments and ratings. Choose if and how you want to show comments. Allow all comments. And I have sort by top. I don't know, newest. Does that make a difference? Right? But I mean, I always select allow all comments, right? And I've gone back to my other videos just by randomly the other day. I don't know why, because I wanted to leave a comment about something like at the top. So in case somebody went to that video, there was something I wanted to specify, like clarify or something. And it was comments are unavailable on this video. And it was as if it was so I had to go into my, settings and all that kind of stuff and get to that video, and I go down to that edit area and I see comments disabled, as if I disabled them. But I didn't. So the algorithm, these things, these games they play. So they don't want people commenting on my videos, but why don't they just gray it out and say, unavailable? See, that's the thing, the lies, the deceptions. That's the world we live in today. It's like shadow banning. Why don't they just ban somebody? Why don't they just say you can't do videos? Because technically, legally, they know they can't, and the terms of service work both ways. So what they do is they cheat with algorithms, like little tiny gremlins in the machine. You see? And they hope you don't catch them. And then they know you're just some regular Joe and that they have the best law firms in the world, literally, right? You tried to sue Alphabet. They're, and I don't, I don't know who they are. It's like I used to know some of the big accounting firms and stuff like that years ago, because I was in business and I would hear, that's the kind of stuff business people talk about in business lunches in Manhattan. The names of these things come up. Or you run into somebody who says they work for such and such a firm, give you their card. And then you talk to somebody and they say, oh yeah, that's like the number one accounting firm in the country. Or that's the biggest they're one of the biggest legal firms, international legal. But anyway, that's who Alphabet has. That's who Apple has. Right? That's who Amazon has. Twitter, right? So you're going to threat. They could break the law anytime they want to against some peon like me. Right? I couldn't even afford the court filing, and then they would do something. And even if I were right and, and could conceivably sue them for $1 billion or something, they would and got a lawyer or something, they would drag it out for like 10 years or something. Just you would go broke. And to them, they would be, a tax write-off. Right? It's like, it wouldn't even be a deal. It wouldn't even cost them anything. They'd somehow figure a way of profiting on the fact that they're paying this law firm, to just screw it. That's if a person tried to go up against them. You can't win. So I guess I get what I'm trying to say is, it's all toxic out there. And everyone seems to be caught up in it. I mean, it sounds like I'm caught up in it. I'm not. I don't know. I'm exposed to the toxic, toxicity of it all. I'm exposed to it and suffering from it. The ill effects, right? The side effects, right, of this toxicness. But no, I just want to live and be happy, and I think most people do. And there's a lot of people out there that are living cushy, happy lives and are unaware that any of this stuff's going on, and they don't know that it's coming to their neighborhood sooner or later, and definitely by next year, probably. And so that's why I've kind of been doing this. Not to be the town crier, but technically the town crier isn't crying tears, is basically doing this, is basically sounding the alarm, right? Or trying to speak truth to power, and is basically service to others instead of service to self. And so that's what this is all about. And I'm a YouTuber, so YouTubers, you get into this thing, and so you feel compelled to do this. It's a weird thing, you talk on YouTube. It's a different thing. It's an interesting 21st century phenomenon, right? Because I watch YouTube, and I watch other people who do shows similar to mine, but not exactly as weird as mine. But I mean, they're doing the same thing. I watch. It's like the whole tone and what they're doing. It's like the same idea. It's the, I mean, I'm definitely can be classified as a YouTuber. As so are these other people. I mean, this is you. This is it. This is what if you want to know when someone says that person's a YouTuber, this is a YouTuber, right? This whole concept of talking, to yourself. I guess, in a empty room in a house by myself with the cat somewhere upstairs, maybe sulking, maybe not, maybe just sleeping. I don't know. Makes me sad in one regard. I don't know what to do. When the show is over, I'll go upstairs, sit on the chair, watch the playback of this, I guess. And he'll sit on my lap and purr for the entire time. And later on, I'll give him a treat. He'll purr and he'll be happy. He won't be too happy today because it's going to be raining and storming, so the sun won't be out. And I'm going to have the bed, the door to the attic, which stinks now because of the tar I had to put up there, is in my back bedroom, is in my bedroom where I sleep. So when I open that door, there's VOCs of that tar and all these chemicals I use come into my bedroom. I have this floor fan with a filter on it, but I have that, and I try pushing the air, forcing it towards the door. So whenever I go up there, as if I'm forcing air up. But the problem is I can't necessarily open a window up there. So what happens is it's useless. It just semi-functions as a barrier, but the toxicity still comes down there too. In the spring and the summer, it's fine. I have this screen. I could open the screen window in the attic, and I could put a fan I have up there in the window and blow the air out so that nothing comes down, But in the wintertime, cold air goes down. So it's colder up there than it is in my bedroom. So, forget this toxic thing. So the cold air comes down the stairs. But whoever put the stairs to the attic in a bedroom? I guess it wasn't intended to be a bedroom. I don't know. They built this house backwards. It's definitely a Sears house. It was supposed to be like sideways, but I guess the guy bought a lot that was only like 20 feet wide, I'll show you in my book. Let me get rid of this toxic thing for a second. Book. For somebody who's just tuned in, this is kind of like what my house should have looked like. Like you see how the street, it's like rectangular facing the street. Now mine isn't this big. Don't get the wrong idea. I have a smaller house. So it's like, it would be like thinner, like almost half the width of that. But what happened was they didn't get a lot that was wide like this. You see how the front porch reaches the street on the wide side. So instead they built it, thin wise, and so they rearranged it. So the door for this house, trying to find my finger. The door is here, you see, and this would be the street. But see, you see how that goes way up. But on mine, the roof is like almost double. It goes up higher even. It's like a line from Star Trek when they rebuilt this woman. Well, all the parts worked, but they had never seen a human before, and so she was like, really weird, weirdly formed. Never waste a good Star Trek thing. I looked this up. The batteries are dying in this thing, so I'm not going to turn it on. There's 3 like of those tiny round little batteries. They used to call them hearing aid batteries. 3 of them put together that go through a little slot. Let's see. You see that thing there? You unscrew that thing, and there's 3 of these little tiny round little batteries in there. But I've been using that thing as a prop for a long time. I've had that thing for like many years. Since I was, a Klingon. Since I was a Klingon. Hypocrisy. See, that's what it should look like. How clean and neat, and the water should just fill those buckets. But it won't. That's what it kind of looks like. The face on me. I don't know. I mean, the guy's got a smile on his face. He doesn't look like he's sick and dying or any of that stuff.
You're listening to Tony Caravan Live.
The humidity's gone way up, though. You can tell it's going to be one of those rainy days. I opened the front door, and it was like you could cut the air with a knife. It wasn't raining as of yet, but I mean, it was like, yeah. It's thick. 100% chance of thunderstorms today. It's going to get up to 63 frickin' degrees. But then tonight it's going to go down to 28. Which means that 3/4 of an inch of rain is going to freeze, man. 28, that's Fahrenheit. That's below 0 Celsius. Below freezing Fahrenheit. And then Tuesday, the high's only going to be 37, and the low's going to be below freezing again Tuesday night. And a little bit warmer in the days Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, but thunderstorms and rain. But the night's in the 30s again. So, and according to the NOAA radio long-term forecast was below average temperatures and above average rain. They're really talking seriously now about that the Atlantic conveyor, is really we may be dealing with George Washington crossing the Delaware type of situation. That deal, that cycle of mini ice age. Right, where the Thames froze over. They were ice skating and had campfires and festivals. You could walk to France, over the ice. Yeah. But that's just one of the things facing people. And they're trying to get rid of fossil fuels. I saw somebody they were talking about these things because they were talking about this war, and they were trying to explain, well, we have to, there'll have to be more, people are going to have to accept other ways because it's all Russia, 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 and they're worried about this Russia gas and oil, right? Because Russia has gas and oil. And the idea is that they're saying, well, people are going to have to come up with greener, fuels. And it's like, people just accept that and yeah, right. No, at home, I'm sure nod to it. But they don't understand, you've driven, I'm sure you've driven. I don't drive anymore, but I've been in cars and I've gone places in cars. There's basically no place left to put any more of those white fans, and the places they put them, they're all just about, have reached their limit. In other words, they're starting to fail. And the same with the solar. We don't have the frickin' space. And then you're talking about connecting these things through a grid that is like falling apart, a power grid. There is no green, right? What are you going to ruin every ocean, every beach in the world and put windmills out in the ocean? And what's the other thing? They kill millions of birds, ruin the migratory patterns of birds with all these big white fans they put up already that are already failing. Half of them are failing. Then they've got this idea of tidal thing, so that's going to like just grind up fish, and I'm sure some people are going to get caught up in those things. Or like forget about a lifeguard boat going out. I mean, I don't know what they're even thinking of, man. Windmills and tidals. So we've ruined the landscapes and all the highway. I used to drive on the national highway system, and it would be like, it was like nice because I drove all over. I told you I drove all over this country by myself, right? Well, with people a couple of times. But I mean, I did a lot of just solo driving. It was fun. And it was beautiful. It was always like, just seeing all this stuff. And different seasons, the trees, the rolling hills, the valleys, all kinds of stuff. And it was like, wow, this is a beautiful country. And recent times, the few recent times that I've been out on a drive with somebody to go to a neighboring town or something like that, these places that used to be so beautiful in the fall or whatever, spring, there's all these big white fans there. And the darn things, they're not even forever, and your electric bill's gone up, and they're not even doing anything. And these so-called environmentalists or people who want to save the planet, they're killing thousands and thousands of birds in each location, and stuff. I mean, come on. And what are you going to do as the planet now? It's official, and there's been some peer-reviewed papers have come out that basically have clinched it. It's not even up for question anymore. The only people who are pushing this stuff is, some of these UN IPCC people who have already been caught lying in emails, but who just won't, who are in denial and are outright bold-faced liars. But the only way to heat up the north of Europe and the northern United States and Canada is with fossil fuels. Like Canada, there's a lot of people with wood-burning stoves, fireplaces, and all kinds of stuff. They're actually using their lumber, which is a renewable energy source, by the way. Trees grow faster than you think. In my backyard, I could show you a picture. Well, I will. I mean, this is a 2-year-old picture. The people who watch this show have seen this before, okay? But I'm going to just show you something. All right. That's my detached garage and my little mini greenhouse and the chair I sit and all that stuff, okay? So this is my yard, and all that greenery you see, and all right, there's an apple tree to the left. There's these other trees to the right, bushes, and all those things are either fruit trees or, what looks like weeds or things growing out of control along the white fence. Those are mint plants. And along the other white, kind of checkered fence, those are spearmint. This isn't an out of control thing. Everything you see there is some kind of herb or food. Tomato plant, peppers, you know what I mean? This is like lettuce, kale, nettles, spearmint, basil, oregano, sage, potato plants, carrots, right? Look at these trees, right? You see there's like a bird feeder I built, concreted it in the ground. So many birds come that I added a second little lower level thing to it. Another tree I planted. And this is 2 years ago, so things have gotten really crazy grown. And then over here against the fence, you see those are like grapevines, and there's like a bit of a pergola I built, which I had to expand last year because these grapevines have gone on to like come all the way down that fence. And see, I have another pergola on the right-hand side in a tree. Now, what I'm going to show you is going to be shocking. All right? I'm going to scroll over here. There's a doctor's office next door. But I have a picture of why I got this house so cheap. There's the very same garage and the very same yard. This is from ground level. Okay? Look. You see nothing but chopped down grass. Do you see a single tree? No. A single bush, plants, anything of the kind? Now let's go back over, just so you know. Look at the garage. See the door, the kind of what it is. See that pole there that's there. I guess he used to use that, or he and his girlfriend used it as a clothesline, part of the clothesline. Now let's go back to this picture from 2 years ago. Like I say, this has grown in tremendously more. Now let's look. This is just from my bedroom window, so it's a higher vantage point. And what looks like a little junk pile in the back, that's no longer there. I turned that into a compost pile, so don't get freaked out on that. So there's the same garage, painted white, roof, patched. But look at all these trees and greenery and stuff. And this particular tree on the right-hand side that's really high that this neighbor like freaked out. You should have seen last year, that tree grew like another like 6 feet from that. So in my own backyard, and I chop down all this stuff because you have to chop them down while in the wintertime, all the sap and stuff goes down to like the root ball or down to the roots. So you never want to, prune a tree, drastically when there's sap in it because you'll kill the tree or the sap will just come out. So I had to do that. That's what I've been doing, or I did in February, and I did a little bit early March, but I'm basically done. The only thing I have to trim this coming week when the rain stops is trim back the grapevines before they get sprung back to life. But as long as we're still getting weather back below freezing, there's no chance of that. All right. There's no buds going to be coming up when it's below freezing. But I have to do it this week because spring is only 2 weeks away. So what I'm trying to say is you should see the piles of wood that I got. So wood is a renewable energy source too. And I've been piling it up, and I'm going to build this summer, my health, holding out, hopefully, because I've got a lot of physical work to do because I've got to physically deal with this roof. I mean, I've come to acceptance that I'm going to have trauma upstairs for 2 months because it's going to rain a lot over the next 2 months. And I can't do any major repairs to the roof while it's raining, wet, and I can't have a hole, and I need to like really just I need to go down to the bare bones and do some serious creative patching. Because I can't afford, no roofers want to do patching. They only want to put a new roof on for $20,000, and I don't have $20,000. And I can't go in debt for that. I don't even have that much equity in my house because I bought this house. As you can see what the yard looked like. Would you have bought a house looking like that? But if you would, but the second yard you saw, you'd go, wow, this is pretty nice. Yeah, you should see the front of the house, what I did to it. It really looked, when I painted it white and redid everything, it looked really like it was one of the nicest looking houses in the neighborhood. Of course, those coal trucks that come up and down, have brought soot. So it's like the front of my house is like all, filled with a lot of soot. It needs like a pressure washing or something. But add it to the list. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that you see how I've been talking about me, like health issues, my home issues, and then getting into greenery and growth, and then talking about earlier, the toxic news and pundits and YouTube and how toxic the internet and TV is and the war profiteers. And it's all just one big toxic blur. It's like you just want to breathe fresh air. And then I criticize these people who are sitting in their comfy little cul-de-sacs because, they're unaware of this. And instead they're sending money to some Ukraine, right, company or country where there's neo-Nazis fighting on the side of Ukraine that the U.S. has given weapons to, right? And all sorts of other things that people have no idea. Did you know that something upwards of close to 13,000 Russians were killed over on the, the eastern, so-called Eastern Front, like where these separatists just they haven't wanted to be a part of this? This goes back to the Obama administration. Do you understand why Russia was there on the border trying to protect? See, people don't even know about that. Like I say, it's a socioeconomic geopolitics. You hear one story and they say, oh, well, there's not that many neo-Nazis. Are you kidding me? They've got an army and they're armed and they've got uniforms. They even have like their own symbol. Like it's almost like an SS type of thing. No, they're a full-fledged army, part of, that's who's doing the heavy lifting for Ukraine. That's who's killed who's helped kill some of these 13,000 Russians on the eastern side of Ukraine. And NATO's not innocent in this thing either. But I don't want to get into that politics crap. People don't want to hear it and they don't want to believe it. Just like they don't want to believe that 2,000 people are murdered in the U.S. every week. They don't want to believe 40,000 people are dying unnecessarily in the U.S. this week, every week, not this week, every week. And, well, this week they, will, but every week. Of like actually totally treatable, preventable, and even curable diseases. And nobody's given a dime to them. Right? And every time one of these causes for some disease comes out and says, donate to us, we're working for a cure in your lifetime. I don't know if they still have the March of Dimes. They probably do. Or they had these other things. They used to have all these things back in the 60s and 70s and stuff. And that was one of their most favorite line. We're trying to work on a cure in your lifetime. They don't want to cure anything. Big Pharma would be out of business. Big cancer would be out of business. Right? It's like the gallbladder. They just want to cut it out because it's a 40 or 80 grand to the doctor for the operation. Who knows what they could charge the insurance companies? You think they want to go in there and like use some kind of sonic thing like they used to do years ago? Put in that combination suction, camera, suction, and sonic blaster? Because that's what they do with kidney stones. That's what my surgeon did, because I had that problem too. I had a really big kidney stone. And they like blast the thing, but they got a camera. It's a light camera, suction cup, and like some kind of blaster. And they just keep blasting it and suctioning out the pieces, and they're looking at it on the camera, and they just keep doing this and doing it and doing it till they clean and everything else out. And they put in like a little stent to widen like the duct coming from your kidney down out, so any pieces or something that would get loose wouldn't get lodged in there. And then they clean that out and put you on this Tamil or some kind of thing that keeps all your tubes and stuff wider, so that you could pass any kind of stone piece or anything like that would be easier to pass through and stuff like that. And put these IV in you and then tell you to drink a lot of fluids and everything gets flushed out. Well, they could do the same if they wanted to with this other thing. They don't want to. You see? So you can't live without a kidney, so they can't take the thing out, so they have to repair it, see? But the gallbladder, they take it out, and they just say, well, yeah, the side effect is, 40% of the people get chronic diarrhea for the rest of their freaking lives. And who knows, they're probably lowballing to 40%. I don't trust it. And I'm older, maybe when you're, 20 or 30 years old, but the older you get, the more you're probably more likely to have the complications. Right? It's the way things are. Your body's not the same. You don't heal as quickly. With each passing decade, you heal slower. So it's all toxic, man. So everything's toxic. They're just lying. There's war profiteering. There's insanity going on. And all I want to do is be happy. Right? And, there's 330 million people in the United States, and I guess there's probably a lot of them are still happy. There's probably 100 million of them. 1/3 of the people are probably happy. 1/3 of the people are living in misery, and another third of the people, well, they're like somewhere caught in between, but they're about to have a wake-up call in the next 18 months. They're living in a dream world. Less than half the people actually work and stuff. People are getting older, and people aren't having kids. And the immigrants that are coming into the country are uneducated and don't have the skills necessary to rebuild the infrastructure. Excuse me. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that. All I had was cereal for breakfast, just one little bowl.
Really funny. Really funny.
I can't even laugh along with those guys anymore, man.
Hey, it's me. How you doing, man?
I'm not doing too well. I mean, I'm doing okay for the moment, semi-physically. I'm tired, I guess. But, it's the toxicity all around me that's just like, it's overwhelming sometimes, And I don't know if there's anybody out there that really gives a crap. Sometimes, like I say, it's nice to hear that at least somebody else is, going through something similar to you, But other times it's like, I'm just being a YouTuber. This is just my morning vlog. So you want to know what's going on, that's what's going on,
You're listening to Tony Caravan Live.
Yeah. This is me live. Unedited. Right? As I am. Right? Trying to stay healthy, keep out of a hospital, prevent an operation, trying to keep my bedroom dry, not have my hallway and my front room filled with water and puddles. My dehumidifier, for some unknown reason, decided not to work. Why? Door handles are breaking. Things are falling down. I mean, come on. I mean, it's nuts. But I'm stuck here, this is it. This is where I live. This is where I die. It's my last stand. There's nowhere to go, I was I was telling my 88-and-a-half-year-old mother the other day on the phone. I was talking to her about this. And I said, the thing is, it's tough being a guy like me who's, got it all figured out. So the only reason I'm still like functioning and even being able to do this is because I'm like I'm a planner and I'm organized and I'm a guy who lives on a budget and who saw this stuff coming and saw the economy changing and rents rising and all of these kinds of issues coming up. I saw this 7 years ago. And that's why I got this very inexpensive house that my mortgage is so cheap and stuff. And moved to this area. But this was the only place I could find. I couldn't go back. I would have liked to have gone back to my hometown, but it was too far away. And the moving cost would have been, well, first of all, no houses were coming up on Zillow. And like I said, in general, well, actually, and there was this other thing. I had a couple of friends nearby here in the neighboring town, which isn't far from here. It's just a short drive, less than like a half hour or so. It depends on the weather or the time, the traffic, I guess. But, they've kind of gotten, my one friend who I used to hang out with at least every week or two, and we used to use the bar and stuff, got a job and he's got an elderly mother who they got to take care of. So it's become me and my cat, and now my cat's getting old, or I don't know, going through some kind of thing. The neighbor next door was like, she's crazy, man. And on the other side of me is just the doctor's office. They're never around. Across the street, there's an apartment complex. It's a pretty nice building, but it's empty because the woman who has it, there's a hardware store across from there too. It's not a bad part. I mean, this little corner, neck of the woods where I chose to, this house is, for being in like the kind of at the edge of town in a poor neighborhood, because it's like the main drag, it's kind of a lot safer than you would expect for this kind of low rent. Of course, like I said, I bought this house. It's a mortgage. But, the standards of to rent those apartments over there are too high, and so there's nobody in there. And, of course, you wouldn't want to have, though there is another building across the street some people bought that's probably going to end up having, who knows who they're going to put in there, because it's a rental. They just bought it as a rental property. They have this thing called Section 8, which used to be the way you got out of the war in the old days. But in this area, Section 8 housing means you get free housing from the state. And so they put in like welfare people. And I walk down the street to the grocery store occasionally. I don't do it that often, once a week now at the most. I'm just tired of doing that kind of thing. But there's a couple of classic Section 8 rentals down there. And every 3 or 4 months, all the belongings of the people in the house are out on the sidewalk. So I don't even understand how that is, because the state's supposed to pay for it. But they must do something, or they must just split, or I don't know, or end up in jail. I have no idea. It's really almost bizarre. There's this one place that, like, just this year alone, I swear, 3 times, I've seen entire contents of the house out on the street. Mattresses, dressers, all kinds of stuff. Things that they've obviously bought on credit cards or something like that. and things that you wouldn't mind, grabbing. But it like inevitably when I'm walking down there, it like will have rained the previous night, so you would want it. And besides, you wouldn't know if they would have bed bugs or something like that in there. I told somebody else I just never expected that at this point in my life I would, end up this way. So as strong-willed as I am, as organized as I am, and all the advice I give people and my service to others and all that kind of stuff, it's like physician, heal thyself, and I've been failing in that last one, I openly admit that. I'm great at helping people out, giving advice, doing things, budgeting, helping people with their businesses and their lives and all kinds of things. And yeah, I've put myself on, I was smart enough, I guess, to figure this out and budget myself so that I can live here and, pretty much even. But I mean, like I'm at the point now where I'm out of cash until Wednesday. But I've got enough, stuff to eat to get me through till Wednesday. It's only a couple days away. But that still doesn't fill that void, And I guess it wouldn't be so bad, but it's like when you turn on YouTube or want to watch a movie or you want to, it's all this toxic. Everything's toxic. And otherwise it's mysticism, or something like that. Like the people who are talking positive and stuff are all talking about, Atlanteans and getting involved in your chakras and, and all that stuff. And it's like, that's all well and good and stuff. And yeah, it's all ancient stuff and it's neat. And, they're good-hearted, people. But the idea is, yeah, I'm all for all that. And, meditation is a great thing and stuff like that. But, the real world just comes to grips. It's like, I am a good person, right? I have meditated, I do all these things. I try stuff and this, that, the other. But that doesn't change the fact that I'm still, whatever you want to believe, soul, that there's a soul, spirit, consciousness occupying this body, living on this planet Earth for the time being. And so this human aspect of this, being, requires, community, social interaction and stuff. And this other thing, like I say, that's really annoyed me is this idea how they've destroyed these once that I've known in the past social clubs and things that you could be a part of. And then over the past couple of years with this thing, and according to YouTube, looks like I thought they basically kicked, that thing was said goodbye to that, but it's like they're still talking about it. Still got its own little line, YouTube channel on the plague line. So it's like the pharmaceutical companies aren't going to let that go away. So forget about socializing. If you could, there's no place to socialize. I almost broke down and just, decided, okay, well, maybe I'll go to one of these churches, right? And their big social thing is first a guy up at the pulpit basically giving a sermon that I could probably give better. Do you know what I mean? I've given more sermons than he has. See, that's the thing. And I'm not being an ego maniac or anything weird like that. It's just that, like, the guy's younger than I am, less experienced in life, human behavior, worldliness, and understanding, and even as far as not even as well read as I am. So it's like, you're hearing somebody say, and you're like, yeah. You almost feel like raising your hand and saying, hey, you might want to also mention this. Might help people. And their big social events or something, they have a thing around here called gobs. So they have these sales at this church hall where it's like, Saturday, it's a gobs. We're selling gobs. Do you know what a gob is? It's like do you ever hear of a ring ding? But without the like chocolate on the outside, but the chocolate cake with cream in the middle. Well, they have this thing they in this region, and it's like kind of like roundish with this big thing of sugary cream in the middle and like, chocolate cake on the outside. Well, first of all, I can't eat something like that, man. I'll be in the hospital. Or whatever. Or I'll gain instantly 2 pounds. That's how my body is. I can't eat that kind of junk. I don't like it. It's sickly sweet, actually. I mean, wouldn't mind an ice cream, or occasionally I used to eat a candy bar and stuff like that, and some treat things. But, I don't like that stuff that's super sickly sweet. Like, just too sweet. But that's their idea of a social event, a Saturday afternoon gob sale, or during some, holiday season, a fish sale. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So you're going to go in there to buy some fish and try to rub elbows with somebody or whatever. I mean, it's not exactly. And then the past couple of years, this mask wearing crap and stuff like that, you can't even see with people's face or talk to people or anything anyway. You're not going to meet people. That kind of stuff. So, I mean, I just, even contemplating that kind of thing, it's like useless, It's like, the people who've been there, it's like they're just doing it out of routine. It's their world. They grew up. They went to high school with these people. They know them. They've been doing it their whole life. Their parents were there. They're there. See, I don't know. I'm not from this area. I'm from a different part, a different place, It's like, I don't know. I don't even know where it is anymore. No, that's not it. Can't even. Oh.
The future. He came from the future.
Yeah.
You're listening to Tony Caravan Live.
So, yeah, I came from the future and I'm in this place and it's like I'm, a man out of time. Like I said in my book, Then What? Which nobody read that I know of. Or my previous book. 10 books. 50 songs. 1,000 videos. I don't know how many. Like I say, these ones pop up from my old exploration days, Amazon guy catching a fish. Yeah. 15 years ago video. I've got these radio shows over 20 years old on my computer. But see, they killed radio. See, I wouldn't even mind that if I could have a radio show, or something like that. But, it's like even this show, they've got me so banned and hidden and stuff like that, I guess I get away with a little bit more than most because they basically have me hidden. But I'm still walking on eggshells, more or less. But I can't play music and I can't do that. It's like I don't mind an audience. Speaking to an audience, being alone in a studio. I've done this since I was a senior in high school. I had my first DJ job. That's how long I've been at this game, even though I've had different jobs out of this field, so to speak. It's like I began this way, and it's like I'm ending this way. But everything's pay to play, so I can't really do a radio show because of the way it's not the way it was. Like in the 90s, I used to do an on-air show, and I would pay BMI $500 a year. That was the thing they came up with for like internet royalties. And because I paid BMI, ASCAP, or CSAC didn't bother me. It's like they used to do that in clubs too. In other words, if you paid one of them, whoever got there first, if you paid ASCAP, say, BMI wouldn't like bother you and hassle you to pay royalties. But like I know a guy, I remember when I was living in this other place, I knew that there was I knew the guy who had a corner bar, pub. It had a little tiny stage on it. So I used to get little indie local band type of people in there. Some of these bands that do the little regional tours. But it was a small place. So they had to be just tiny, little groups. And, he was doing that for the longest time, but then he got nailed by all the music publishers. And so then it was like he would he goes, well, only originals, only people who play originals could he have in there. So he started to get like acoustic players. But an acoustic player couldn't play a cover song, right? Or if the BMI cop was in there, he could get busted and fined or whatever. And it was thousands of dollars a month, in a bar situation, bar club. But, like I told them, I said, I don't understand these people who you're getting to come in here who are playing these things, because the first thing I do when I write a song, and I've written 50 of them, is I go to BMI and I register it with BMI. So just by chance that someone else wants to record it, or I have recorded most of my songs, that if it gets airplayed, that I would get royalties through, BMI. It could be played on the radio, and it's there's a way of. So what kind of singer-songwriter is going to go on your stage and play originals and be foolish and not to register with BMI or ASCAP or somebody, right? To publish their music, right? So I guess he did. He found people who just didn't understand how to do that. But I managed some acts when I lived out in L.A. and stuff. Well, I managed people in New York too. But that would be the first thing I would do. Is it goes, you guys have publishing, if they had some decent, they had a couple songs. I said, well, let's get that song published so we could, then let's get in the studio, let's record it, and then let's have a release party, and hope we can get this thing out to radio stations so we could get some airplay and you guys can make some money. Because that's where you make your money, by the way, is from publishing. You don't make money from the record companies. The record companies, sometimes people will get a big advance. Most people know this now because it's pretty much common knowledge. But a record company will give some band an advance, and then they'll sell records, and the band goes, wow, we're like, hey, we got a hit record. And the record company's got this laundry list of things. They're saying, well, we paid for this advertising, we paid to press the record, we paid for this distribution, we paid to fund this part of the tour, blah, blah, blah. Not only do we not owe you any money, you guys owe us $15,432. It's like, what the fuck did we get a record deal for? You'd be better off going it alone. At least you wouldn't be in debt. But your music's out there. But if you wrote some songs on that record and they didn't put in a clause, see, some of them are really crafty. Sometimes they even try to sneak in and grab a percentage of your publishing and stuff. Like big artists. Like I knew, I could tell. Yeah, I could even tell. I could tell. I knew two female artists. One I managed for a very short period of time, which I don't want to get into that, who wrote a hit song, all right, and who was getting royalties from it. But that the artist who sang that song demanded part of the publishing. That was part of the deal. And then the other one was like, who I didn't have anything to do with, but Stevie Nicks, who performed a couple songs written by an Australian, Sandy Stewart, who I've been trying to find this song. I was doing a movie, and she wrote this song I was going to include in this film. It's called Sweet Talk, and I can't find it anywhere. It's a really beautiful song. And I unfortunately, I had 2 bags left in a hotel in Australia the last time I left Australia. This is like so many years ago that they're all lost and stuff. Including like a video camera that had like all kinds of really cool video of that last trip in the studio where I was doing stuff and stuff. It's a nightmare. I don't want to deal with it. I lost more things than people have had. I don't care. I'm not in the material world. But Stevie Nicks made a song, not that song, had a different song, a hit, one of her hit songs that Sandy Stewart wrote, So I don't mind mentioning that name because Sandy Stewart, you could discover her. She's an Australian. She's older now. This is a long time ago. But I mean, some of her early music, she had a couple of interesting things. But she had the potential to be a big star. I was hoping that I was going to have her in my movie, and I was going to, that was my goal. But we had some problems with that music film. That's a whole nother story. But, because I had management, in other words, I had an agent, we had the same agents. She was under that agency's affiliate in Australia, but I was basically, we were under one of the big 3 agencies. I was represented by one of the big 3 agencies in the, in the world, which was pretty interesting, and I had a publicist. I was at one of the big publicist companies in New York were my publicists. And I had an executive producer for my movie who was like involved with ITC, film production in the UK and stuff. I mean, this was a real, and we were shooting our film at De Laurentiis Studios in Queensland. I was like I said, I was like a player. I was involved in all of that stuff, But there's through a certain amount of But anyway, Stevie Nicks demanded, like as if it was like the song stylings of Stevie Nicks. She knew that was going to be a hit, so she got part of the publishing. And I'm not going to expound on that, but just to tell you that publishing's where it's at, in case you're an artist and you're curious about something like that. The point is, make sure you have publishing, because that's where you make your money. You don't make it from a record company. Even a gold record, the record company's going to find a way of taking all that money. And you go on a tour and they're going to just say, oh, the tour expenses and stuff, And that's why the price of concerts are so high, even with the so-called supergroups now, because in order to make money and to put on these big shows, it costs so much. And there's so many hands and pieces in the pie that, they have to charge these big prices. And even the big bands of supergroups, they're the only ones who really walk away with, make big money on the big tours. The rest of the bands, a lot of the opening acts and a lot of these smaller tours, or these group tours like Lollapalooza type of things and stuff. The promoters and, maybe a couple of the top couple acts. But a lot of all those other bands that are playing all during the day and stuff like that, that's like promotional shit, record company bullshit, stuff. Yeah. So it's the idea of getting exposure and hoping that some radio station is going to pick up on it, or people are going to request it on a radio station. You have publishing, it gets aired. And if it managed to make it into the top 100 or even top 200, nationwide, you're getting enough airplay that you're going to get a royalty check. That's what it's all about. That's the music business. Anyway, see, it's like, I have all that, but see, that part of my life is over, and I have 50 songs and stuff, but it's like, I'm not going on tour, I can't afford to go on tour and put together a band. And I've recorded my songs, and a lot of them are just they're scrappy, because I've just multi-tracked them, and I've done them live like I do this show. I just kind of did each track live, right? Because I don't, and so it's, but I still listen to some of my songs. I like them. But, I played them for some friends of mine, and they're like, blah, I play them on this show. It's blah. I don't see Spotify, I've got like 2 listeners or something. I don't know. I mean, it's like people don't get it. It's like people don't get me, or take the time to listen. I don't know what it is. I mean, on my songs, I don't know. I mean, when I hear songs like, I mean, these are good songs. Virtual Cage, man. Yeah. I mean, I don't see why that song could not be a hit. I really don't. I don't get it. These are all like little, intros from some of my songs. I mean, they're all like, I don't know. Lyrically, they're good. If you get my book 8, the one with like kind of the infinity symbol or 8 turned on its side, that's like my lyric book. Has just about the lyrics to every song except the most recent, like the last 2 or 3 songs I wrote, because I thought I was done writing songs. I've said this before. So it doesn't have Virtual Cage, I don't think is in there, and My Last Girlfriend, or there's some song, something live, one of my Happy Nightmares Live.
I originally wrote this song.
Yeah, that was 21. Yeah, I don't think that's in there. But I think there's only 3 songs missing from that book. It's not really a book. It's a lyric book. But in other words, it's interesting. If you read the entire book and if you read it as lyrics, it's almost like a poetry book, I guess. But my beat poetry is kind of like almost like an essay, that's semi-rhymes or prose, whatever you want to call it. I don't know. Well, anyway, this has been a strange babble. I know it's been kind of depressing, and then I get, and it's this self, talking about my own things and stuff. But it's like, I guess what I'm trying to get back to by delving into some of my own things and reminiscing towards the end here. It's like I've had a good life. I've had incredible experiences. I've done a lot of things. I haven't been the most perfect person. And when I was younger, I guess I was self-centered and I made mistakes and I miscalculated and did the wrong things. But I always had the best interest in mind. It's like if you ever saw the Jerry Lewis version of the Nutty Professor when he's on stage and he starts turning back into, the goofy Nutty Professor. Where he's like, I never meant to do anything that wasn't of a kind nature, and I hope you'll forgive me, that type of thing. And it's just sad, and people are crying in the audience. But it's like I could totally relate to that. It's like, if you ever watch the original Nutty Professor, I was like I was like Jerry Lewis when he was on the Formula, Oh, it could be a little bit obnoxious, outgoing, this whole thing, Mr. Big Shot or something, I don't know, or the guy go-getter or whatever. But it's like, I learned at a fairly young age. I figured it out. And, like I said, the past 30 years or so, I've been pretty much a humble person trying to do good. And I've had my share of heartbreaks and tragedies and all that stuff and loss in my life and stuff. So it's like, I don't know why it just keeps continuing, But, life is a struggle. And for some of us, we just have to deal with these kinds of things. So I'm dealing, but I'm venting. That's what this vlog is. It's a morning vlog, and I'm a YouTuber. And sometimes on YouTube, you just basically vent and vlog, and and it's like my books. You're seeing, the last two books are Flow of Consciousness, I call it. So you're seeing the insides of another human being who's sharing, right? So maybe there's something you can learn from me that, or watching this process and, day in, day out. And see what happens, So where's this going to end? What's going to happen? It's like an adventure. Will he fix the roof, or will this windstorm that's coming this afternoon take the roof off? And will I end up in, the projects, government housing? Who knows? Will he, be able to beat this gallbladder and not have an operation and get back to living a normal life and have a great garden and a fun, a nice summer and share that stuff? Or will he end up in the hospital and be like this sickly, half a man that he was or something, Stay tuned, right? To all these things to see where it goes. But, watch like yesterday's show. I mean, some of these shows are downbeat. When I talk about dystopia, and this Mad Max thing and all this stuff. But, it's no joke, man. It's not just because, some people might say, just to cover this as I think about it, because my mind's always like spinning, Say, oh, well, you're just depressed, so you're trying to make the world look like everything's bad, everything's toxic, and this country's, falling down. We're in to save America, and we're gonna change it. And the 2022 elections are gonna bring this country back. It's like, no, it's not about me. It's not about whether I feel bad or good. I have good days and bad days. No, it's about an infrastructure that's beyond repair. It's about runaway inflation that can't be fixed. It's about the temperature getting cooler on a planet where people have been brainwashing you and trying to tell you that it's been getting hotter. And they've been doing things actually and there is actually things being still done where they're messing with the atmosphere, right? To actually make the planet cooler because they think they drank their own Kool-Aid. There's people at MIT and some universities in league with funded by Bill Gates and stuff that are actually trying to like do experiments where they're putting particulate matter to block sunlight out to cool the planet, when there are actually peer-reviewed papers in respectable journals out now saying that the conveyor's slowing down and that the planet has been cooling and is cooling. And like I told you before, the readings that they were taking and giving in the UN IPCC reports were taken in like airports on tarmacs that were like 2 degrees Celsius hotter than the rest of the planet, or in cities that, create their own heat. They weren't on the surface of the water, but if you just go down like a foot, it's ice cold. So we've been lied to. It's toxic. The news, the UN. Like I said, with this war over in Ukraine, where's the UN? Where are the UN peacekeepers? Right? You've seen those white trucks they have. They even have like white little tanks and all and things like that. Where's the UN? Just like, now this armada of UN and UN, these white helmet UN peacekeeping forces coming in. Do you think the Russians, do you think Putin would allow his generals to shoot on the UN? No, he wouldn't at all. So where's the UN? Why are people paying the UN? What is the UN, right? And why did we fund it, and why do they have all, thousands of troops and all these vehicles, peacekeeping troops and all these vehicles? Do you see what I mean? This is war profiteering. This is toxic. We've been lied to, right? This is a NATO takeover of Ukraine that Putin had been warning about since back in the Obama administration, and 13,000 Russians were killed. And you never heard about that before they finally decided to come in. So everything you know is wrong. You don't know what you don't know. You all right? ROCKFLUX, this planet's in a state of flux. It's game over. Why don't you go get some of my stuff? All right? Get a shirt, a hoodie, a hat, or go to Great Solar Stuff. Get yourself something because the grid is going to go down.
Good morning.
And buy my books and get the print versions. Don't be a cheap ass and get a Kindle or a Apple Books. Yeah, they're available on Apple and Kindle Books, just like music's available everywhere. All right? You can listen free on YouTube, but you could also add it to your Apple. If you have Apple Music, you could request it. You could request it on Amazon Music if you have Amazon Music. My stuff's all over the place. But get Codex and then what? In print. Get a shirt, and get yourself one of those power backup things. Support the channel, support me. Maybe I could fix the roof. Things will look up. Who knows? Maybe I'll get a radio show. I'll turn this into a music show. Find a way of figuring out a way to do that. I don't know. Anyway, have a great day. Take care. Have a great week. Cheers.